Hello everyone, welcome to webinar for WD Gann, Tunnel Through Their book, Secrets Revealed. This is basically about astrology. We have seen in the previous video that we had talked about this book, 1994 Tunnel Lecture by Bonnie Lee Hill. This is not a book altogether, but this is a lecture which maybe someone has compared in the form of a booklet. So we saw first of all is something about wet cotton farmer, which is there. Before that, there was an introduction and various details who have been given in that book related to that aspect. Right. Again, this talked more about astrology, which has especially been given in this book. That okay, Gann has been talking more about astrology. This is financial astrology. Then there is something called as mental astrology, right? And yes, I mean like different aspects of astrology have been talked about in this book, right? Then we saw something called about wet cotton farmer and the aspects about that have been given. So the prima facie things about them is Uranus Neptune aspect has been given that okay they are whenever in conjunction or maybe at 180 degree, 135 degree. Uh, there are typical cycles which have been formed and because of which there are various impacts, especially about heavy rains or floods. Right. So this is like the wet cotton farmer occurs when a geocentric Uranus Neptune aspect occurs in the spring season. So it is very specific that this is only during the spring period, and it has relation to that period only. Anything apart from spring period, it is not that impactful. So this is what WD Gann wanted to say. And there are various examples which have been shown. So it is not like a cyclic 20-year cycle which is there. It can happen at times within a year's time. Let's say, for example, it was in 1881, 1882. Right. So this was a basic thing which has been given into that part, and this had this effect not only in America but also in various places like China. An example has been given related to that. I'll request is please go through the previous video, video number 8, and then there is a entire flood history which has been given, and it predicts about the future floods also, which probably would be coming up in 2027. Right. Then we go to the second part, which is poor cotton farmer. We'll just try to go through things quickly. Gyan gives us 3 hints about this trade. One is on page number 16, which is like when therever is, let's say, for example, but in 1920, cotton prices declined rapidly and his cotton bought very little, which again reduced them to a poor circumstances. Page number 26, again, it talked about the same thing that, okay, there was good crop, but the prices were low and they were again there in debt. And one more example has been given on page 200, which specifically talks about Daniel Sadi, that okay he was into good money making mode altogether, but he didn't follow the natural laws, and because of which he was there again into debt because of the crash which is there in cotton. Right. So this cycle specifically has been related to a Jupiter Neptune aspect, right, which has been given. So we can see about the various cycles and again the astrological point of view related to the cycles. Right. So there are certain examples which have been taken. Before that, let's just read about this. Uranus and Neptune aspects gives us suddenly too much water, right? So that is related to the floods part. But Jupiter Neptune aspect gives us just the right amount of water which has been required. So what happens is this is more of on terms of economics. There is a good supply, there is a good demand, and whenever there is excess of supply, the demand is less, and that's why the prices also do go down. So this is the basic fundamentals of economics, right? So there are n number of examples which have been given, and what the author wants to say us is Gann made this very easy. He puts all the trading rules in Tunnel Through the Air, and he put all the data we need in the book, like how to make profiting commodities. So if you go through these books together, probably you'll try to understand the correlation, right? So we are just taking about examples 1984, 1844, I'm sorry. uh, Cotton had an extreme low of 5 cents a pound. Geocentric Jupiter was semi-sextile Neptune on the dates which have been given. So this was in 1844. Again in 1851, geocentric Neptune was 135 degrees from Neptune. It was at a low of 8.25 cents in January 1852. Right. So a number of cycles have been given. April 7, 1857, which is there. Geocentric Jupiter was semi-textile Neptune. 1871 geocentric Jupiter was sextile Neptune. Again 1873, which is there. So these are various cycles which have been given together into that part, and Gann tries to correlate all these things together, that okay, when there is a specific cycle which is a cause, there is a specific result. Same way, if it's a good cycle also, let's say the what I mean, like the rains were good, I mean, like in a specific required quantity, and that is also related to certain astrological aspects, and the impact can be seen accordingly. So right causes gives us like effects also, so it is very important. Then again, examples have been given all together about the same parts, right? So it's everywhere you'll be finding the same amount of things which have been given. So these are more of cycles, and the author has also specifically mentioned about all these things together, right? So you can just go through that. Probably if you have a book copy which is there, I have already given the book copy in yesterday's video, which is video number 8 related to W. Gann trading techniques, and specifically talking about tunnel through the air. And they have been specifically mentioned about note 1 and note 2, giving the dates which are there, right? Note 1 talks about cotton price is very low in 2001, and note 2 is West Texas had a bumper crop of cotton in 2005. Now, what is this? We'll just go through that. Please remember that I call this rule the poor cotton farmer. He grew a lot of cotton and no one wanted it. I grew up in what West Texas, so this is about his part. Let's go to rules which have specifically been given. Right, rule 2. So this is rule which is there, which is talking more of to summarize the things which are there. Rule 2, the poor cotton farmer suggests that bumper cotton crops and low prices are related to geocentric Jupiter Neptune aspects in the middle of spring. So again, it is like a specific conjugation which is there, and at a specific time period which is there during middle of spring. This is very important. Both the things should be happening during that time. If it is not happening during that time, probably it won't be that impactful, or the impact would be reduced, or there would be no impact, right? Then the next cycle which is there is dry cotton farmers, which has been given. Now this is, let's consider our two rules. Uranus Neptune aspect causes sudden water, and Jupiter Neptune aspect causes good water, that is bumper crops and low cotton prices. Now something apart from that which is related to other cycles which are there, we will be just talking about now. We will need a Saturn Neptune aspect to occur between late December and April, right? So this is related to that cycle, or probably we'll just go through these things together. Yes, our first guess would be drought. We can use that Gann's data to check the price of cotton, and we can use weather data to check for droughts in order to cause a drought, right? So this is there, and then he has taken down various examples, right? I'll just read through one through examples which are there, and the rest of the examples are almost the same. In 1761, we had a major drought in the country. Saturn was 135 degrees from Neptune. So again, it is Saturn-Neptune conjugation which has been given over here. The next year, Saturn was again 135 degrees from Neptune on February 6, 1792 is what is been given, but as per my understanding, it is 762 because it is talking about the next year. If anyone probably has or gone into the details of part or getting into the details of this part, let me know if the dates are same or something different. I considered it as 1762. Why? Because it is given the next year. So we had another major drought in 1762. Then again in 1816, which is there, Saturn was sextile Neptune. Year 1860 is famous for the Kansas drought, which is there. On March 18, 1863, Saturn was opposite Neptune. So again, it is talking about Saturn-Neptune cycles which are there. The drought helped to cause a long-term problem with bowl beetles. I mean, this is a different case together. On June 31st, 1903, Saturn was in conjunct Neptune. The drought was so severe that cotton farmers planted their crops in a different manner. There was a little bug that grew in certain crops, and the farmer planted those crops next to the cotton. The little bug was called the boll weevil, weevil, and it decided that cotton tasted much better than the other crops. Suddenly, the cotton farmers had a major boll weevil infestation. The drought helped to cause a long-term problem with boll weevils. So this is an example which is there. Again, Saturn square Neptune. we'll be finding same amount of things which are there. Same Saturn was in conjunct Neptune and the dates which have been given. So probably they have also given a list together of all those things together, and they have given specific notes also. Right now, these notes are specifically related to some aspect which are maybe a bit different, trying to explain us why this is important and why the other things are not so important, or why you should be taking certain things which are probably important, and how probably we should be differentiating between two different events which are there. Let's say, for example, this note one which was there on November 8, 2004, Geo Saturn went retrograde at 27 Cancer 20.6, while Geo Neptune was at 12 Aquarius 40.0. This was not a perfect 135-degree aspect. It also happened too late in the year. So probably because of that, yes, there were certain aspects, but maybe it was not perfect. This is what the author wants to say. Note 2, Geosaturn went direct at this disk while geocentric was at this disk. This was not a perfect 150-degree aspect. So it wants to say that, okay, this is not perfect conjugations which have been required altogether, or maybe not the perfect aspects which have been given. But a station will often make a near aspect more powerful. This station did occur in the spring. Select areas of Texas and Oklahoma suffered a mini drought in 2005. Both states had problems with fire due to lack of rain. Ranchers in Texas had to move to their cattle to Kansas during the fall of winter of 2005 because the cattle couldn't find grass in Texas. Now, what she wants to say is the aspects was not perfect and the drought was not perfect. So this is the cause. If the cause is not perfect, probably the effect will also not be perfect. Most people could assume that the conjugations was very powerful. So I selected other examples to show that aspects like 135-degree were equally powerful. Like equally powerful, but if the cause is not perfect, probably the effect is also not perfect. This is what the author wants to say us. Right. So these are various examples which have been given. There are notes which have been given related to that part. Right. Related to the cycles, I would just like to take examples. Ah, Gann realized that there should be a bumper cotton crop in 1926 and a major flood in 1927. Right, cash cotton moved from 6 to 7 cents up to 60 cents during this time. So he has taken care of two conditions which are there. I'll just read that. You must remember that the cotton market had changed drastically since 1926. The market is much more global, and the weather patterns in the central United States do not affect prices to the extent they did when Gann wrote the tunnel through there. So if you have taken previous cycles when there is a drought and maybe there is a good supply of cotton and plus there are maybe good rains, both the things together, we know that okay, the prices don't rise but probably they get down. So if you purchase something during that time period and the next year if there is a drought, right, so the prices of cotton will go very high. So Gann just studied the interrelation between these cycles and he did trade on those aspects. Let's say in 1926 he did trade. Cash cotton moved from 6 to 7 cents up to 60 cents, so that was almost a 100% increase during that time. Gann traded that move in the futures market. He used the rule he have just studied to predict that move, right? So this is what you can say a mix or knowing both the cycles. So it was like a supply was huge. Because of that, the prices did fall down and he did sell at the high points which are there because of the drought aspect. So knowing these things are together important. We have studied this three rules: wet cotton, poor cotton, dry cotton together. And we need to know the effect altogether on those things together. They give us long-term trends. So knowing about these aspects, you can get into the long-term trends also. And these are probably the charts which have been given into the next part. So you know when it was a low and when it was a high. So probably whenever you know that okay, it's going to be low, you can just purchase during that time. And when you know that okay, it's moving towards the high side, or probably you know that okay, the drought is coming, or during that time, probably at the high points, you can just sell it across. So this is what the author wants to say. And whenever you know that okay, there is a high and after that there's going to be a low, probably you can just short sell. This can also be done. Second part is Robert's cotton aspect campaign. Gann also use short-term aspects. He had a section in the book called the cotton campaign. Geocentric cotton was opposite Neptune on April 17, 1926. This aspect follows our poor cotton farmer, right? So the poor cotton farmer, when you know that things are not been happening, or probably there is a good rain, and because of that, the prices do go down. At that time, it is the best time to purchase. Cotton prices were very low in the fall of 1926. Geocentric Uranus was in conjugate Neptune on January 18, 1927. So this aspect follows our wet cotton farmers that there will be a drought and suggest very high cotton prices. So you buy when there is a low and you sell it across when the prices are high. So you may make good amount of profits, right? So you don't do actually anything apart from knowing the cycles and predicting on the basis of those cycles. On the same side, we had geocentric Jupiter entering spices and a full moon. So you need to study those aspects also together so that we are able to get some complete advantage. We will now analyze the cotton trades discussed in the book. Our job is to find the astrological reason for the trade. So this is what is important for us. Let's go date wise. On December 4, 1926, there was a major bottom in cotton, right? So this is given in 1926. This is because of the poor cotton farmer effect. On that date, we had Geo Mars SD. Now SD, we'll just try to study that. What exactly is SD? SD is stationary direct, right? And we'll just go in brief about that. A stationary direct is a natal chart will progress over the years and will pick up speed. Conversely, a planet that is slowing down will turn retrograde by progression at some future time. We are not static organisms. We grow and evolve. Planets that station retrograde or direct by progression often mark major turning points in life. Since the stationary planet is in the process of changing direction, this implies that it can herald reversal of fortunes, right? So this is there, and probably the link you can get across by just typing Geo Neptune SD astrology, and 1234 number is celestial insights. So this is there when time stands still, exploring stationary planets, right? Uh, and you can just go through that article again, right? So more about cycles of different points have been given. Then it was a low. Then again, January 18, 1927, geocentric Uranus was in conjugate Neptune. This is our wet cotton farmer. So you know that, okay, whenever wet cotton farmer is there, you have prices which are going high. Why? Because the supply is less and the demand is high. On the same date, Geo Jupiter enters Spices and a full moon occurred. All the astrological triggers suggested lots of water, right? Page 70 letter tells us that Robert bought cotton at 13.8 on January 24th, 1927. On that day, we have Geo Sun conjunct Mercury and the moon at 0 south declination. Page 94 again, I mean, like, these are different aspects which he has studied from this part and tried to say us one by one. Page 94 tells us that cotton started up on February 23, 1927. On that day, Geo Mars entered Gemini. Geo Mercury was parallel Venus and the moon was again at 0 south declination. So all these things he had mentioned, the author specifically had mentioned from her side and told us about every aspect which is important from astrological point of view. And probably if we study that in detail, whoever is more of into astrology or probably wants to understand more about astrological aspects, they can study one by one. And when you know that, okay, this is going to be the cause, there can be an effect also on those things, and things become much more easier, right? See, in the tunnel through the air, he's W.D. Gann did tell that, okay, he knows about the cause, but he won't be discussing about the cause part. But here in this book, we are also knowing about the cause, and on the basis of that cause, we are also going to get the effects. So it was more of an astrological point of view, and those things have been taken into considerations, and all the cycles have been given to us one by one, right? Over here with the dates, all the things have been mentioned. Please do go through all these things together so that you will be able to understand one by one how things are going to be impacting, right? So declinations, bottom, top, no effect, because various dates are there. We won't be able to cover all these things together, right? Considering taking my profits when the moon reaches 0 not declination if cotton is truly in a bull market. So probably he's talking about taking profits when exactly those has to be taken, and when the I mean, like when you have to buy and probably when you have to sell. This is what he has been given in the form of the cycles, right? So majorly there are three important things which are there. One is the poor cotton farmer, wet cotton farmer, and dry cotton farmer. We need to know the cycles which are there and when cycles have been coming. You need a lot of data to determine what happens during this interactions. This is why Gann studied over 1,000 years of wheat data and over 400 years of cotton data. He needed to study major aspects when they occurred. One is by themselves, and second is with other major aspects. Right. So both the things have been important for us. An audience member asked by criteria for a bull or a bear market in the lunar declination study. I explained my procedure. I printed a large chart of the daily price action and laid it on the table. I then looked at the chart and defined the market action by eye. I drew a new trend line but didn't use any complicated analysis. I also did not consult any of the other 11 rules. I did not assume that I could see a reversal had just occurred. We have studied three weather rules and one trading rule for cotton. We have also seen hints of about 11 other trading rules for cotton. Each of these trading rules needs to be analyzed like the lunar declination, right? So not only the planet conjugations are there, but also the lunar declinations we have to study all together, so that both the things together as a pattern, we have to study both the things together. And talking about lunar cycles, yes, we know that, okay, previously in the book they have also been talked about, discussed about, and given in detail, right? So at this time we'll just try to summarize these things together, talking about three different aspects which are been given in the book. One is about the wet cotton farmer, which is like there is a huge amount of rain, floods, because of conjugations which have been happening between the planets. Same is there for poor cotton farmer. Again, different conjugations which are there, because of which there is perfect amount of rain water which is there, and because of abundance of supply, the price does go down. And third is again dry cotton farmer, which again has a different cycle to be followed. So these three different cycles have been there, and we have also studied uh, Roberts cotton campaign. So probably about rest of the things, forecast of cotton market for 1922, declaration, major motors, US national natal chart, and other astrological techniques. Probably we'll try to study that into the next video. Till now, probably if you have any doubts, do let us know. We are present on this Telegram, not Telegram, YouTube channel, which is Unit of Technical Analysis for Trading. Our humble request is to please do subscribe to the channel, like the videos, and also place your comments so that we'll be able to get back to you. There are a number of people who have been putting across comments that, okay, sir, please do let me know about this or that. I have been on personal level trying to contact with these people and trying to solve your queries. But if it comes on the YouTube channel, maybe probably much more people will be able to know, and then it would be a one-to-one communication, but with all the people whoever are there on YouTube or trying to see the videos which are there. Apart from that, we also have a Telegram channel by the name of Unit of Technical Analysis. You can just go on Telegram, type down Unit of Technical Analysis, and you can just directly subscribe to the channel which is there, right? Thank you so much, guys. And if you have any doubts, please do get in touch with us. The details would be given into the description. Thank you so much.